Welcome to Ministry in Motion, where we explore best practices for your ministry in the 21st century. Whether you're a pastor or a volunteer in your local congregation, Ministry in Motion is designed to offer you resources, cutting-edge ideas, relevant training, and inspiration for your ministry. Our topic today is total member involvement. Our guest is Pastor Duane McKey, Assistant to the President for the General Conference of Seventh-day Adventists, for total member involvement. Welcome to Ministry in Motion, Duane.
Thank you, Ivan. Excited to be here.
TMI, not too much information.
No.
Tell me about that. What is total member involvement all about?
Actually, someone told me, a young adult recently said, we're using the sticky principle. I said, what's that? They said, well, there's a whole book written on it. TMI, too much information. People don't forget that. If we had used SSB or something like that, they wouldn't remember it at all.
That's true.
But now they do. Total member involvement. The idea is, Mrs. White makes it very clear in a number of places that the work won't be finished until all the members work together with the pastors and administrators.
Wow, so it's getting everyone maybe off their seats or off the pews and engage in ministry.
Any kind of ministry. Everyone can do something.
How was this born? I mean, I know it's a biblical mandate to go and teach.
Go and preach and teach and baptize in all the world. And
Yes. So anything else you can tell us about this birth of TMI?
Last year at the General Conference session, when they asked me to take this position with Elder Wilson as his assistant, we had a real burden, as all of us do as pastors. We have had this for years. We want to finish the work so Jesus can come. And we realized that with the working force as pastors like we are, it's never going to happen. HMS Richards Sr. used to say, the work won't be finished until all the preachers are put in jail. My wife doesn't like that, and so this is a better alternative to get all the members involved, doing something, witnessing for Jesus.
I'm sure you have some examples of how it's working around the world. Sometimes when people are baptized, they aren't as engaged or they aren't trained to be engaged. So how has this worked around the world? What are some examples you could give us of TMI being a real blessing?
It was a real blessing in Houston, Texas a few years ago, where we had 130 evangelistic meetings. Dan Jackson preached one of those, and it was exciting to see over 500 people baptized. Then last year, we had a huge initiative in San Antonio, Texas, when we had the General Conference session. Before that, we had all kinds of events that took place from the Texas Conference and Southwest Region Conference and the Southwestern Union. It was thrilling to see lots and lots of lay people engaged in different kinds of witnessing activities, from mowing grass to passing out glow tracts to giving Bible studies. Then we had the seminars, the Pathway, the Health Project, which was incredible. It kind of shook the whole city. The mayor herself came out and was very, very supportive of that. And in a series of a number of meetings, we now have 6 new churches in San Antonio because of that.
What have you found that this has done to church members, to those who are not paid employees of the church to do ministry? How has this either fired them up or what has it done to them? What impact has it given the church?
It's a tremendous impact, Ivan. Just when people know, when they're trained, when they realize they can do something. I think the important thing that I've seen with this is that with total member involvement, when people get involved in doing something, it shouldn't be just a single silo event. It needs to be planned. It needs to be calendar driven. So you have a series of events, and that's what we did in San Antonio. It was planned throughout 2 years of activities, and that's why we have the 6 new churches. We've had health events before, and we've had evangelistic meetings where nothing else is connected, with very little results. And then we say, well, it doesn't work. The cooking school didn't work. Or the evangelistic series doesn't work anymore. But if we connect it all together, if we plan smartly, God will bless, and lots of people can be blessed then as they get involved, doing something, but connected.
That's a blessing. We talked briefly about maybe a biblical mandate. Is TMI biblical?
Oh, absolutely. Jesus tells us to go and preach and teach and baptize. I like Habakkuk 1:5, one of the most exciting verses. It says there, "Behold ye among the nation, the heathen, and regard and wonder what marvelously, for I will work a work in your days which you shall not believe, even if you were told.
Wow.
So God is going to do something great. And I think it's because as we work together, we saw that in Rwanda. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. But if we work together, God is going to do something great for us because he wants us.
You know, if I am listening to Ministry
Yep.
in Motion and I hear this TMI thing,
Yeah.
how can I get involved? How can a listener or a viewer get engaged in TMI?
You know, in North America, where most of this will be viewed, I think, you have the compassion ministry. Every ministry involved in some type of compassion. I think work with the pastor, work with the church.
Okay.
Start in January, plan the whole year, get a calendar. These are the kind of things we're going to do. Have a reaping series, we have Bible studies, have follow-up meetings. The best way to keep new members and young people involved is to give them a job, get them involved. Total member involvement gets them into the church too then as new members. They'll stay then.
You know, I have known you for several years, and you didn't just start this in this new role that you have. You've been spreading the gospel for many, many years and helping others to do so. With total member involvement, you know, I heard a little something about Beckley, West Virginia.
Yeah.
What happened there with TMI?
This is a small church in West Virginia that the attendance had dropped to 20 or less. And so actually Benny Moore, my friend, who is down at Southern Adventist University, he's retired, but he goes to the church there. They have 100 people in their Sabbath school class, and they decided to do a mission project. A couple of years ago, they went to Alaska and they sent some money overseas, but they wanted to get more hands-on. And so they picked out Beckley, West Virginia to revitalize it. They went and had seminars. We had a Pathway to Health project. It shook up the town in a great way. Lots of seminars. I think they gave away, I believe, 900 pair of glasses.
Wow.
And so all kinds of full medical, and then the seminars, the Revelation seminars, the Bible studies, and a series of meetings, and now the attendance is 40
Wow.
instead of 20. The goal is to continue on, though, and I really appreciate that about the Sabbath school class. This is what Sabbath school classes can do around the world, by the way.
Yeah.
The goal is to continue on and revitalize that church until they have at least 80 people in attendance on Sabbath. Right now, they're going through a Daniel seminar. They're inviting the people when they pick up their glasses to come to the seminar or sign up for Bible studies or come to a health event that they'll continue with. So it'll continue and continue. And I think, Ivan, in North America and also in Europe and other places of the world, we have small churches in some places that are dying.
Wow.
And so this is a way that a large church can revitalize a small church, or a large Sabbath school class can revitalize a small church that's having a hard time. They can partner together.
Hold that thought. We're going to come back and talk about Beckley, West Virginia in just a moment. Welcome back to Ministry in Motion. Our guest today is Pastor Duane McKey, who is the assistant to the president of the General Conference of Seventh-day Adventists for TMI. Yes, TMI, Total Member Involvement. We were talking about a city called Beckley, West Virginia.
Right.
I've never heard of Beckley.
Okay.
It's a test tube for total member involvement, or
Right.
a lab.
Yeah.
Tell us again, kind of briefly, what worked there and what is the model that you can take from Beckley? In fact, is Beckley a large city or a small
No,
city?
it's a small town, an average city in West Virginia. And the church had gotten down to about 20 active members. And eventually, if nothing was done, and we have a lot of churches like this, it will not be there anymore. And so the Sabbath school class, 100 people, down at Southern Adventist University in the Sabbath school there at the church, decided they wanted to help them out. So they came up and did all kinds of seminars. We did a Pathway to Health event, then more seminars, health seminars and Revelation seminars, Bible studies, and then a series of meetings with Richard Halverson. And all of a sudden, now we have 40 people in attendance, and Daniel seminars are continuing on. You know, Ivan, I think that this is an answer that we had large churches that they don't have, they're not challenged to do something.
Sure.
And so they end up anyway. But if they have a mission, and this can be a special, it doesn't have to be overseas. It
Sure.
could be here someplace in North America. And the same thing could happen in Europe. A large church in Paris can help a small dying church. It can
Sure.
happen around the world like that. So I have a real exciting passion for that. I've seen it happen. And Ivan, over the years, we have done meetings, we've done health projects, and they're like silos, as I mentioned before,
Yeah.
by themselves. We need to connect the dots. We need to have a plan. And as we plan and work together,
Yes.
your meetings have been very successful, great meetings, but it was all planned out. Lots of
Sure.
pre-work, lots of follow-up. And so
Yes.
that needs to happen. But a small church can be assisted or revitalized by a large church or a Sabbath school. I'm in Sabbath school as well. So I see
Yes.
our large Sabbath schools helping small churches and revitalizing them and giving them a fresh breath of life.
So this doesn't sound like a one and done kind of a thing.
No.
Where you have an event
Yeah.
and that's it.
Yeah.
Why is total member involvement different than just, say, a one-time engagement in the community or a one-time evangelistic thrust?
Because you have the pre-work, we work together.
Okay.
All the members are challenged. We can do this together. And
Sure.
then afterwards, we're all challenged. They all have their part. Everyone can do something. And so before it, you bring in the star evangelist, he does a series of meetings, and then people leave. It doesn't work anymore. But with the members engaged, bringing their friends and neighbors, because they have given Bible studies. We saw this in Rwanda. It was wonderful. And it happened in Beckley. It can happen anywhere in the world. It happened in San Antonio, we mentioned before. It can happen in your local church too.
Wonderful. What is the reaction of the World Church with TMI?
It's been extremely positive. We were just here at the General Conference at the annual council with world leaders, division presidents, and each one gave a report yesterday. They all talked about what they were doing, getting their members involved in different areas. Probably the most exciting one is what happened in Rwanda. It was just a miracle. I have taken groups to Rwanda for years, and sometimes you have 100 baptisms at a meeting. Usually you have 30, 40 baptisms, and it's good. We're thankful for that.
Sure.
But this time, it was a miracle.
Come on,
because
tell us about it.
all the church members got so involved with TMI, with total member involvement. Some gave cows away, some gave goats away, some built houses for the poor people. They did all kinds of social events. They did Adler projects. They did prayer ministry projects. Actually, the one conference president said, the church members are saying, the general conference, the people, officers, used to come to Rwanda for meetings, but now they have come to pray, teach us to pray, and to do evangelism. Surely Jesus must be coming soon.
Wonderful.
It was thrilling.
That's good news.
And the brethren, the conferences, they got together, they set a goal, they said, God could bless us. It'd be a miracle if we had 60,000 baptisms. Never happened before.
Wait a minute, say that again?
They said 60,000.
Wow.
That was their goal. But the church members, Jerry and Janet Page, had been there, done prayer ministry. They were praying and praying and praying. They said, no, God can give us 100,000. And when I heard that, I thought, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But then I saw all the activity and all the people coming, people bringing their friends and their neighbors. I made a call when I preached there before the meetings.
Sure.
And people came forward, 15, I think. And my translator said something to everybody. I said, what do you say to them? Oh, he said, I'm telling them they can't be baptized until they promise to win one. Their goal was each one, win one, lose none. And so they accepted that, and as people were baptized and they brought their friends and neighbors, the Lord blessed, listen carefully, with 100,000 baptisms.
100,000 baptisms.
200 and some. It was just amazing.
Amazing.
It never happened before in the history of the Adventist Church. And, we had done a little research. We're not sure it's ever happened before in the history of the Christian church.
Wow.
Just think of it, 100,000 baptisms.
That just is mind-blowing.
It is. But it's because people got involved, total member involvement. Everybody can do something.
So it's not just about preaching.
No.
It's not just about standing up front,
No.
maybe teaching a Bible study. You've mentioned health. You mentioned people giving away cows. I mean, Give us some other samples or examples of what it means to be totally involved.
You know, a lot of people took the prayer cards. They made one in Rwanda. They're making them all around the world in different languages, different styles and stuff. And the idea is you simply write down the names of your friends and neighbors and relatives. You start praying for them every day. You invite them to some event. You do something nice for them. You know, everyone, we're nice, we're Adventists, we're Christians.
Sure.
You do something nice for them once a week, and then you invite them to some church event, and then pray with them and give them, you know, share Jesus with them and bring them to a health event, and then bring them to the meetings that you're having. And then they're challenged when they make a decision to be baptized to win somebody for Jesus. One lady said, I wrote down 11 names, and she said 11 were baptized.
It looks like God has answered many prayers
Yeah.
with TMI, with total member involvement. Tell me about the sharing aspect briefly before we have to wrap it up for a moment. When people share their faith and they,
Yeah.
like you said,
Yeah.
share Jesus,
Right.
Does that encourage them to be more engaged or less? What do you
Oh,
think?
absolutely more engaged. You know, there's nothing like talking to a friend or a neighbor about your experience with Jesus.
We're gonna come right back with more Ministry in Motion to hear about sharing Jesus with total member involvement. Welcome back to Ministry in Motion. Our whole topic today has been total member involvement with Pastor Duane McKey, who is the assistant to the president of the General Conference of Seventh-day Adventists. Duane, we were dealing with the whole fact of people sharing Jesus and how that has ignited them to be involved. Tell us a little bit more about that.
People can share Jesus in many ways. Everyone can do something. You know, I have a list here of 100 ideas that you can put together. Lots of things. Again, the events, the things we do must be connected with a plan. You can't just expect to do one event and not have it connected to have results. Prayer, I think, is one of the most powerful ways that you can, is praying for people. I know a lady, Mrs. Ford was her name, and several years ago the pastor was having a series of meetings, and he said, we need to pray for people, we need to go out and knock on doors and pass out literature, and she said, I can't do a thing like that because, and then she got to thinking, well, I can pray, and she got out, actually she took 14 names out of the phone book and wrote them down. 2 years later, 7 or 8 of those 14 were baptized. Just absolute miracle that God performed, you know. And I think we all can do something. We just have to be willing and focused on sharing Jesus.
I like that. We all can do something.
That's right.
What a blessing. Well, tell me a little bit about what's going on around the world. What are some models of total member involvement? Talk a little bit more about that.
Something right now in Eastern Europe is happening that is incredible. We have invitations to help them. They are doing all kinds of preparation. We mentioned before the health events, the seminars, the community outreach events, all kinds of things. They're doing that right now in Eastern Europe, in the countries of Armenia, Bulgaria, Georgia, Moldova, Romania, and Ukraine. And it is thrilling as they're working together with all these kinds of ADRA-type medical events, community events, preparing prayer events, prayer initiatives, youth events, children's events. You know, you can call it TCI, total children's involvement too, or TYI, total youth involvement. We all can do something. They're doing that there now. And one thing they're asking us to do is to come and preach. That's going to be in the month of February. You can read about it on tmi.adventist.org, our website, tmi.adventist.org. And come and join us and preach. Something happens, they're telling us, when a guest comes. Whether, and if you go to Romania, you're a guest from America, a guest from London, a guest from Africa, something happens. It helps the church members know that it builds synergy.
Sure.
Synergy. And they get excited and say, yes, the whole world church is focused here. We can do this together. God is going to bless. Those countries have now listed 4,000 sites.
Wow.
Never happened before in Eastern Europe. 4,000 sites where they want evangelists to be preaching in February to reach out to their friends and neighbors. There's a text, Ivan, you know this one well. I love this one. It's here in Romans. This is the one thing they're asking us to do to help build that synergy. They're doing all the preparation. They'll continue on afterwards. Verse 10, chapter 10, verse 13. For whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. How then shall they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how shall they believe in him for whom they have not heard? And how shall they hear without a preacher? And how shall they preach except they be sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of them that preach the gospel of peace and bring glad tidings of good news.
Yes.
So we can go, we can preach, or we can help, we can do health events, lots of things we can do to help. And I think it's so important that the World Church sees divisions, unions, administrators, the General Conference, Elder Wilson himself, actually getting their hands, getting boots on the ground, getting their hands dirty, as it were, out there in the churches preaching. And Elder Wilson, by the way, he would usually the model before, Ivan, like in Rwanda and other places, is that we would go in with a famous speaker.
Sure.
And have one great event, and everybody would come and watch and listen.
Yes.
And in Rwanda, also in Romania, where he'll preach, we're getting him a little church. And we'll have 2,000 other meetings. So his is not the church. He says his event is no more important than a layperson's event out in a village.
It sounds like total member involvement.
Yep.
That's huge. And it sounds like there's great momentum with this. How have you engaged or motivated, or how was this even started? I mean, of course, you come up with a name. You come up with kind of the focus, but then you have to almost sell it. You almost have to say, here's the mandate. And of course, we have the biblical mandate.
Sure.
Which is really the foundation for this.
It is.
So how have you explained this to a whole world that you need to be involved?
Sure. We first start talking with our division presidents. We've been doing that for a year. And then they talk to the union president. Then we also talk to the union presidents.
Okay.
And then we have contact via the internet. We have radio and TV programs. And so we try to reach people. And we had a program here in North America on another network. And as people get excited and interested and they see, then they get involved. It takes a while. It's like turning a big ship around. And so a lot of people who will watch this will say, I never heard of it before. Well, now it's time as we work together in North America and around the world with total member involvement, working with your compassion ministry. People can do something.
I love that. Duane, thank you so much for sharing about total member involvement. 100,000 baptisms. What a blessing.
Amen.
And thank you for joining us for another edition of Ministry in Motion. If you would like more information about our topic today, or if you would like to watch this program or any other program on demand 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, visit our website at www.ministryinmotion.tv. And again, we want to thank you for joining us because this has been a blessing to have you understand total member involvement. God bless you.